AI is taking over the world. Military drones, creepy AI robots,
I will destroy humans.
disgusting AI art that multi-billion-dollar companies are making you pay for, Google telling you to eat rocks and put glue on your pizza, and even worse, AI turning beloved classic movies into ugly-ass-looking $40 4K Blu-rays.
A hyper-processed mess with enough grain reduction to turn characters into cartoons, and so much teal that the original colors have been terminated from this timeline.
And speaking of the end of the world, and James Cameron pissing on his legacy, how about we watch the Terminator movies? Why not? Terminator. Arguably the best sci-fi thriller of the 80s. T2, arguably the best action movie of the 90s. And then they kept going. And kept going some more.
For fuck's sake.
And kept going some more.
Why?
And kept going some more.
I'll be back.
Until greedy Hollywood producers doomed the franchise like the machines doomed mankind. Just like Skynet, milking this franchise dry was ironically inevitable.
Judgment Day is inevitable.
My head is still pounding from all the explosions, excessive CGI slop, and the same three one-liners repeated ad nauseum.
I'll be back. I'll be back. She'll be back. I'm back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I won't be back.
Come with me if you want to live.
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 Get out.
Get out.
Get out.
Get out!
Get out.
But before we get to that, let's go back to the beginning where it all started, back in 1984.
Terminator, rated R. The #1 movie in the USA is now playing everywhere.
Terminator. You might have heard of it. The low-budget sci-fi film that became a massive hit, put James Cameron on the map,
Being f***ed by the computers.
turned Arnold into a movie star,
I'm coming day and night.
introduced us to everyone's favorite strong female character, up there with Ripley, Sarah Connor,
Sarah Connor.
and a premise so good it got ripped off way too many times to even count. Yeah, this movie was pretty influential if you ask me, and we all know what it's about. Two guys from the future get teleported to 1984, butt-ass naked.
After watching the mulattoes shake it, I can absolutely understand why Brazil is totally devoted to my favorite body part, the ass.
There's a robot who nails the landing, and this guy Kyle Reese who doesn't. Jesus, you okay there, buddy? And at this point, things are still a little ambiguous. We don't know much about these guys. Arnold is killing everybody, like Bill Paxton and Dick Miller, while Kyle Reese looks like a coked-out homeless guy. But in any case, they both have the same objective, which is to find Sarah Connor. Sounds easy enough, except there are 3 Sarah Connors in town, so they gotta find the right one. Is it her? No, it's actually this one, the lady who works at Big Jeff's. You know, the place with the mascot named Big Buns?
Guard it for me, Big Buns.
I'm starting to think James Cameron just really likes ass.
The ass.
Okay, long story short, in the future, robots have taken over the world and 3 billion people died. It's very bleak, and yet it somehow looks more hopeful than 2025. But there's a group called the Resistance, and they're fighting back against the machines, and they'll eventually win the war.
Their defense grid was smashed. We'd won. Taking out Connor then would make no difference. Skynet had to wipe out his entire existence.
So to prevent this from happening, this Arnold was sent back in time on a mission to kill Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor.
Yes.
Because turns out she's the one who's gonna give birth to the leader of the Resistance, John Connor.
This is John Connor.
And this soldier guy, Kyle Reese, was also sent back to protect Sarah and therefore make sure they win the war in the future. So that's the sci-fi setup. But the first Terminator is much more of a gritty thriller than a sci-fi movie, at least in my opinion. In fact, this brings me to talk about a sensitive subject for many people apparently, which is whether the Terminator is a horror movie or not.
Well, which is it?
Quick answer? I don't know. It can be whatever you want. There's no need for a big debate. It's got some horror elements. It's got sci-fi. It's got action. Hell, it even turns into an adult film here and there.
I'm coming day and night.
But whether you think it's horror or not, this movie still undeniably shares similarities to slasher movies.
A robot design that could be split in half and still pursue its victims in classic sort of 70s slasher style. I thought, a knife-wielding robot cut in half, crawling over the ground after some, poor female victim, and that was sort of the nucleus for the story. Being f***ed by the computer.
If Arnold was wearing a scary mask and was using a knife instead of a shotgun, well, he's basically Michael Myers, an unstoppable killing machine on a mission to kill a specific target. And there's even a scene with Sarah's roommate, which is very reminiscent of the first Halloween. That roommate, by the way, is really weird. She kind of creeps me out. What the fuck are you? What food are you making? But just like in Halloween, this young couple is having sex. Then one of them heads out while the other waits in bed, and then the bad guy shows up and kills them. Hell yeah, just like a slasher movie, except with a little bit of overkill. Now at this point, Sarah's a little spooked out. She knows she's being followed, and this leads us to the famous nightclub scene where all three characters finally meet.
Come with me if you want to live.
Man, this line is so awesome, so badass, such a classic. I can't imagine a world where that line would sound lame or cringe. Like, there's no way.
Come with me if you want to live.
Never mind. And this scene is great because this is where we get to see what the T-800 is capable of. I mean, so far we know he's huge, got a nice ass, big dick, half decent with a gun. But this is the first big showdown. He gets shot 100 times with a shotgun. Gets right back up, starts chasing them. We see his red laser vision for the first time. A car blows up in his face, but he gets right back up again and fucking smashes the goddamn window with a punch. At this point, you realize this thing is an unstoppable killing machine. Then there's a fun car chase. More shooting. And in the end, the cops show up, they arrest Kyle and Sarah, which leads to yet another fantastic set piece. Arguably the best scene of the movie, which is, of course, the police station scene.
I'll be back.
Man, what a cool line. I'll be back. Such a classic, so badass. I can't imagine a world where that line would sound annoying or lame or cringe. Like, there's no way.
She'll be back.
I'm back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Never mind. Well, the scene goes exactly how you'd think it goes. Arnold shows up and starts shooting everybody.
You'll be perfectly safe. I got 30 cops in this building. You'll be perfectly safe.
This is where things get more action heavy, but there's still a little bit of horror to it. The power's out, there's dark, dim lighting, and there's almost like a final girl chase scene. Overall, it's a lot of fun. But this movie's not all about the crazy action. The moments where things slow down and we get to spend time with our characters are just as important and engaging as the action stuff. I especially love the scene where Arnold takes care of his wounds. This is where they showcase the practical effects from Stan Winston, who's a legend, of course. And sure, the fake head looks fake, but other than that, everything looks phenomenal, and I just like how the movie turns into body horror for a moment. Arnold cuts his eye and pulls it out to expose his red robot eye.
Not a robot.
It's fucking nasty. Just a great scene overall. And meanwhile, Sarah and Kyle are hanging out in a motel, and the stakes are pretty goddamn high. I mean, Sarah will give birth to the savior of humanity, so of course they have to destroy the evil robot and make sure she stays safe. Our survival depends on it, but there's one thing that's even more urgent than that. Something of the utmost importance that must be taken care of at all costs. Sarah is really horny.
So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right?
Keep in mind, in Kyle's timeline, Sarah would be, what, 70 years old? So if we're being technical about it, he's sleeping with a gilf. And on the other hand, in Sarah's timeline, Kyle isn't even born yet. So she's like, sleeping with a negative 10 to 15-year-old? It raises all kinds of questions, but let's not think about that. They're having sex, and that's all that matters. And it's a good thing they did, because turns out Kyle got Sarah pregnant with John, the baby that will in fact lead the resistance against the machines. But then again, John was born before Kyle was sent back in time. He's the one who sent Kyle back to find his mom. So how would he...
God, a person could go crazy thinking about this.
Just don't think about it.
Think fast.
Good one. All right, time for the explosive final act. That's a quality explosion right there. And out of the fire emerges one of the coolest f***ing things I've ever seen in my life. Look at this thing. It looks phenomenal. Until it starts moving. Okay, that didn't age like fine wine, I'll admit it, but just looking at Stan Winston's design alone, man, that is a 10 out of 10 evil robot if I've ever seen one. Anyway, let's wrap this up. The machine explodes, gets crushed, Kyle dies, unfortunately, Sarah wins, and with her pregnant belly, she drives off on her way to save humanity. The end. What is there to say about this movie that hasn't been said a million times before? Nothing. It's just a great movie. Terminator feels special. Like, we're never getting another movie like this. That time has simply passed. It was lightning in a bottle. And obviously trying to recapture that magic has not been working very well. What? Aside for a couple of dated effects, this is one of the few movies that is pretty much perfect from start to finish. The characters, villain, action, suspense, drama, premise, atmosphere, the miniatures and matte paintings, and the practical effects, the stunts.
Okay.
Everything works so incredibly well, and all of that on a surprisingly low budget. I love this movie to death, and yes, it is my favorite of the franchise. Fight me.
You're wrong! You're wrong!
And of course, with a movie as successful as this one, a sequel was inevitable.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
T2.
You've got a hard-on for Cameron.
And yet, it took 7 years to make.
First choice is for you to direct it. And I said, I don't know.
That's right, you'd think they would have pumped out a new sequel every year, Nightmare on Elm Street style. But no, it took a while. Cameron was busy with Aliens and The Abyss. And he felt like the story was over at the end of the first movie. There were also many rights issues, which didn't help. It was kind of a mess.
It was difficult to make a sequel to Terminator because the rights were in complete chaos.
But at last, in 1991, T2 saw the light of day.
They said, well, we'll pay you $6 million. I said, okay.
Oh. And yeah, it was a game changer. Bigger, louder, more action, more explosions, more special effects, more jokes, more of everything. This movie cemented the Terminator's place in pop culture, and this is where the franchise was truly at its peak. And the story of this one is, well, pretty much the same. Two guys from the future get sent back in time to acquire a target. One of them is here as a protector to ensure the survival of the human race, and the other is on a mission to kill the target to prevent the resistance from ever existing, just like the first one. Except there's a couple of little twists here. For one, this time they're not looking for Sarah, but her son John Connor, who's still a kid at this point. And other twist, this time around, Arnold is the good guy.
But this time, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator is a good guy.
And this time, our villain, it's the one and only T-1000, which is a new Terminator model that's made out of liquid metal.
Liquid metal.
Which I'm pretty sure is one of the earliest use of CGI in a movie, so that's pretty cool.
Wrong!
Oops, apparently the first use of CG was back in 1982 with Tron. My bad, I'm stupid, I'm a dumb idiot. But the liquid metal is still pretty groundbreaking.
I'd never seen anything like it in a film.
Literally redefining state-of-the-art for computer animation.
You know, we are offering the public, the viewing public, a lot of stuff they've never seen before. A lot of stuff they didn't even know was possible.
So the opening scene is a Terminator 1 callback party. Arnold's bare ass.
The ass.
This line.
I need your clothes.
Beating the shit out of bikers. The leather jacket, the sunglasses, the motorcycle. right away you'll notice the lighter tone. It's more fun, it's a little bit more silly. Then we briefly meet snot-nosed little kid John Connor, played by Edward Furlong in his film debut. Edward Furlong, who is of course best known for playing Colin in the Night of the Demons remake.
There's this f***ing curse on the house and everybody turns into demons.
A classic.
Baby, oh, if you're gonna put it in there, you're gonna need to use a little.
Sarah is also back, but she's locked up in a mental institution. I don't know why, she looks perfectly fine to me. Eventually, the machines find John in a mall, and this is when we get our first encounter between the T-1000 and the T-800, and it's a fun little action scene. Robert Patrick gets shot 100 times. The two robots wrestle a little bit. Then John hops on Arnold's bike while the T-1000 yeets this guy out of his truck. He starts chasing them. The whole thing plays out very similarly to the nightclub scene of the first movie, at least in concept, but it's very different in execution. James Cameron wanted the first Terminator to mostly take place at night. It's a very dark and gritty movie, of course more of a thriller than an action film, and this is the complete opposite. Broad daylight, bunch of extras everywhere, massive set pieces, crazy stunts, unlimited shotgun ammo, of course. It's much less focused on atmosphere and more about straight up fun popcorn entertainment.
There's action, action, and more action.
After that, it's a matter of taste. What do you prefer? I'm more of a subdued atmosphere kind of guy, but this action scene is undeniably very impressive. Look, I'm gonna say the word. I'm gonna say it. It's epic!
It's epic, bro.
Alright, let's get back to Sarah. Jesus Christ. Anyway, John and Arnold come to her rescue.
Oh, here comes your friends now.
And of course, they encounter the T-1000 once more. Oh, and by the way, he just killed a cop. I just wanted to show that because it's fun. Once again, we get a bunch of crazy action, some shooting. And chasing around. The T-1000 hops on the car with his metal claws, which is really fucking cool. But this scene is also where they get to fully showcase the revolutionary special effects they had at the time. We've had a few glimpses before, but this is where they go, hey, look at how cool this is. That thing must have been shockingly impressive back in '91. I mean, as Nick Cage would put it,
it's like fantasy come true.
And I want to take his face off. It still holds up impressively well to this day, especially seeing the current state of CGI nowadays. Not to sound like a boomer or anything. Like, obviously many movies have wonderful computer-generated effects, but isn't it crazy that for many big-budget movies, this is the standard? This is the kind of crap we've come to expect? And this 34-year-old movie unironically looks 1,000 times better? Just a thought. I don't know. Anyway, after that, things quiet down for a while. John teaches Arnold to talk more like a human. Well, a stupid 90s child human, that is.
Later, dickwad. And if someone gets upset, you say, chill out.
They gear up with machine guns and explosives, and we also get a lot of humor and levity, but not to the point where it's annoying. It's actually very wholesome, and it makes sense in the context of the story. It's a kid playing with his pet Terminator. That's inherently a fun idea. This is well-written humor, which is not the case for other movies in this franchise.
We're screwed, aren't we? Pretty much.
Alright, let's get back to Sarah, see what she's up to. Jesus Christ. So, long story short, they find the guy who invented Skynet that will eventually destroy the world in the future, and the scientist figures that might not be a great thing to happen.
It's not every day that you find out you're responsible for 3 billion deaths.
So everyone teams up to destroy the company and therefore save humanity. And you know what that means? It's time for some more action, you crazy bastards. Yeah! Woo! Of course, the black guy gets shot by the cops. What's new? The lab gets destroyed. Hey, take a shot every time there's an explosion in this franchise, and good luck!
I'm drunk.
There's even more shooting. Phew, That was a crazy action scene. I'm guessing we're gonna take a little breather. No! The T-1000 shows up in a helicopter and there's an insane chase scene on a highway. Helicopter explodes, but the chase scene continues with yet another big truck. And you'll never believe this, but yes, there are even more explosions. And this leads us right into the climax of the movie. We're in a steel mill and the two Terminators are wrestling. Ow. And it finally ends with Robert Patrick falling in a vat of molten steel. So that's it. It's a happy ending. Oh, wait. I knew this moment would come, but I'm still not ready.
I'm not ready.
We gotta do it. We gotta talk about the scene that will make any grown man cry.
Don't do this to me.
Yes, the scene where Arnold sacrifices himself to erase all trace of the machines. And I'll admit it, this scene made me a little bit emotional. Just a little bit. It's one of the all-time great movie endings. And yeah, that was Terminator 2. And it's an amazing movie. Also, water's wet and the sky is blue. This is everything you could possibly want from a big blockbuster action movie. Not only is it visually incredibly impressive, but it also, and more importantly, it has heart.
You see the effects. You're so blown away.
That's part of our goal, but also our goal is to tell a good story. Hopefully the emotional part of it will work for them as well.
You care about these people. You care about the conflict. Unpopular opinion though, I do find the kid slightly annoying, but that's just because I hate kids in general. His voice is always cracking.
Jesus, you're gonna kill that guy!
And he's always screaming.
Help! Help! He's gonna blow him away!
Ouch, my head.
Come on, let's go!
But his relationship with Arnie is very wholesome.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And yes, it is very well written. There's even fun character growth with Arnold, who starts off acting and talking like a machine.
I'm a cybernetic organism.
But then he slowly becomes more human-like by spending time with John.
Chill out, dickwad.
That's great, see, you're getting it.
As for Sarah Connor, well, she's Sarah Connor. Like, what do you want me to say? She's the ultimate strong female character everybody knows and loves. There's really nothing to say about this movie that hasn't been said already. Simply put, this is a perfect movie.
I'm blown away. I'm like in a state of shock.
Well, Terminator 2 was the highest grossing movie of 1991, and everybody loved it. So once more, another sequel was inevitable.
It was inevitable that a Terminator sequel would get made.
And yet, the third movie was made 12 years after T2. In 2003. What? The fuck? Yeah, there was trouble with the rights once more. James Cameron didn't want to be involved. There were many studio negotiations, delays, distribution rights cost a bunch of money. Edward Furlong was attached to the project, but was then replaced because of his substance abuse, which is just depressing.
There's this fucking curse on the house.
Linda Hamilton didn't want to be involved either. And yeah, 12 years later, we finally got the third film. Making movies is so much fun. Terminator 3 is the beginning of the slow decline of this franchise. At this point, I don't think people really cared anymore. Arnold was pushing 60. The story was complete. I mean, Skynet was defeated.
We stopped Judgment Day.
We stopped Judgment Day.
Guess not.
There was really nowhere else to go. Most of the original cast weren't going to be involved, and turning these films into an unplanned trilogy was simply too little too late. And I don't think anyone hates this movie with a passion. I think everyone just sort of forgot about it. It's bland, mediocre. It's just more of the same, but done worse. Because yes, this is once again the exact same thing we've seen twice before. Same exact story. Two robots get sent back from the future, one to protect John Connor and one to kill him, except this time John is in his 20s, and also the bad guy is a hot blonde chick. And yeah, that's it. That's really it. Otherwise, it's literally the same thing again. It's almost like this movie didn't need to exist. You can tell something's wrong just with the opening credits. The title card appears with barely any music. Okay, what did the Terminator 2 opening credits look like again? Oh yeah, that's right. Holy shit! Well, for the first time in one of these movies, we get a lady butt shot. Oh, yeah! But don't worry, you'll see Arnold's cheeks real soon.
The ass.
The lady grabs a very 2003 phone, and she makes a sound with her mouth. which gives her access to the school district database. What is happening? What? And they play this stock-sounding action score as she's driving around very fast. The whole thing is executed like an action scene, but like there's no action and there's no conflict. She's literally just driving on the road. And turns out her mission is not only to kill John Connor, but also to eliminate these other kids who in the future will become his allies in the resistance. And one of those kids is John's future wife, Kate. Uh-oh, do I smell a shitty romantic subplot? Yes!
Uh-oh.
Meanwhile, Arnold shows up, and as I said, this movie doesn't have an ounce of creativity or originality, so say it with me. He shows up in a bar, fights a bully, grabs his jacket and sunglasses, and drives off. Yes, exactly, you got it. Alright, back to the Lady Terminator killing kids. That's fun. And then she gets to John and Kate. But Arnold shows up to save the day by, bear with me here, by running the Lady Terminator over, and somehow he manages to do that without squishing Kate's head in the process. Phew, kind of a lucky guess, huh? So there's a bit of fighting and laser cannon shooting.
Ouch.
And since this is a 2003 movie, you know we're gonna get terrible, unnecessary CGI. Ah yes, I'm glad they showed that. Then on to a car chase scene where John and Kate try to escape self-moving cars controlled by the Lady Terminator's mind or something. Which is definitely just as cool as they thought it would be.
Right.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it. The action sucks balls, especially watching this right after T2. Just a bunch of quick cuts and bad-looking effects, mindless destruction with no stakes. Hold up, was that a panther roar? What? There's really no sense of excitement or even purpose for that matter. Like, what do we know about our characters so far? John is a rude asshole.
Shut up!
Asshole.
Kate barely has a personality. Why should I care?
Hold on!
Well, that's over. And it's time for a green screen exposition road trip. Alright, long story short, they defeated Skynet in the last movie, but no. No. The apocalypse is still happening because the writers said so.
We stopped Judgment Day.
You only postponed it. Judgment Day is inevitable.
Okay, sure, why not? So now the objective is to get these two as far away from Lady Terminator as possible, and then I don't know what the plan is. Anyway, let's see what Kate is up to. Oh, so there's a very slight attempt at developing the characters.
We made out in Kripke's basement. I cannot believe you remember that.
They even start flirting a little bit.
You know, my Kripke's basement. That was the first time I ever kissed a guy.
And mind you, this lady's fiance was savagely murdered about 2 hours ago. But isn't this cute?
Your fiancé is dead.
Oh, and guess what? Sarah Connor died off-screen in between the two films. I'm sure the fans are gonna love this. And it doesn't feel like a cheap retcon because they couldn't get the actress back. Not at all.
What happened to her?
Leukemia.
And at this point, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of conflict, and by that I mean John's being a little bitch.
Why? Why me? Look at me. I'm no leader. I never was. I'm...
Oh my god, I don't care. Can we get back to the shitty action? Oh, thank god. It's fine. It's decent, mindless action, even if I still really don't care about anything that's happening. And as for the plot, this is where things get a little bit confusing. So, from what I remember, it turns out Kate's dad is actually the guy who can stop Skynet, or the guy who created. What? And now he's the Terminator's priority target. She needs to kill him to prevent Skynet from being erased. Except in her robot vision, we see that John is the priority target. And also the events of Terminator 2 changed the timeline because John was supposed to already be dating Kate, but because the T-1000 showed up, they never actually got together.
I don't understand.
And if they had, John could have convinced her dad not to create Skynet. Of course. But that didn't happen because they never met.
What the hell is going on?
And so now Skynet is happening.
This is all about your father.
What's he talking about?
He's the key. He always was.
Wait, what?
Your father is the one who can shut Skynet down.
What?
And by the way, guess what? The Judgment Day apocalypse is happening today, and the whole world will blow up in 3 hours.
The end of the world is today, 3 hours from now.
Did you get all of that? Come on, let's try to keep up. It's just so obvious that in order to make a third film, they had to retcon a bunch of shit. They literally had nowhere to go. So that's the best thing they came up with. Find the guy responsible for creating Skynet again. It completely undermines the entirety of the last movie. And not only that, but the whole subplot with Kate's dad and this computer super virus.
Computer super virus.
Is so bad. That part of the film is straight out of a Roland Emmerich film. Sir, the systems are down. The missiles will be launched. This can't be happening. Sir, the president wants to talk to you. Let's pray to God this works.
Let's pray to God this works.
So fucking cliche and boring and lame. Kinda like this line.
She'll be back.
And also this line.
I'm back.
Come on, stop it. Well, daddy's dead. Nobody cares. And after that, there's a bathroom fight scene, and it's truly embarrassing. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. And as you can see, the special effects aren't getting any better. This is such a mess. Let's just get to the end. Arnold sacrifices himself to kill the TX. And hey, look at that. I guess they programmed him to have one-liners.
You are terminated.
That's convenient. Remember in T2 when Arnold had one-liners that made sense because he learned them from John?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, back to Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. In the end, John and Kate realized Judgment Day was inevitable.
There was never any stopping it.
Like, there was no way to stop Skynet from blowing up the world, apparently.
There was no system core. It could not be shut down.
Except for that time when they stopped Skynet in Terminator 2. But no, there's no way to stop Skynet, so the whole world blows up. The end. The fuck? Seriously? That's how you're gonna end your movie? Yeah, this movie doesn't make any sense. As a sequel and the closing chapter of a trilogy, it really is an insult. Killing Sarah off screen, ignoring the main theme of the movies, which is all about there is no fate but what we make.
The future is not set.
The future's not set. There's no fate but what we make for ourselves.
Judgment Day is inevitable.
Oh.
Retconning things so that Kate's dad is now the guy who'll create Skynet? Even though it was supposed to be this guy? They really just made shit up as they went along and hoped nobody would notice how nonsensical it all is. Add to that 2 bland, uninteresting leads with 0 chemistry, very mediocre, forgettable action scenes. Yeah, safe to say James Cameron did it better. Who would have thought? You can enjoy Terminator 3 just fine as a stupid action flick, but it's not a very good film. In fact, it's the first bad Terminator movie, and you better get used to it because it's not the only one. Next up on the list, from the director of Uglies, it's Terminator Salvation, released in 2009. Now, the only thing I knew about this movie is that Christian Bale went insane on set and started yelling at a guy.
I want you off the fucking set, you prick! Sorry. No, don't just be sorry. Think for one fucking second. What the fuck is it with you? What don't you fucking understand? Let's not take a fucking minute. Let's go again! I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking ass. You don't shut up for a second, all right?
Making movies is so much fun, you guys.
Kick your fucking ass!
But otherwise, I went in completely blind, and to me, this is the sequel that I think had the most potential. The whole thing takes place in the future, where we get to see the war between the Resistance and the machines. That's a fun idea. It's something we haven't really seen before, and we finally get to see John Connor lead his army. And this time, he's played by Christian Bale, who, believe it or not, is a much better actor than this guy.
Oh no!
This one is more of a war film. We're back to a grittier tone. You know, things are looking pretty good. Then you watch the movie and it's yet again a stupid, mediocre, forgettable experience. Damn it, I thought I would like this one. First off, remember when I said this movie was about John Connor?
Negative!
Well, he's in the movie, kind of, but the story is actually more about Marcus. You know, everyone's favorite Terminator character, Marcus?
These are examples of the costume renderings that we did for Marcus.
played by everyone's favorite actor, Sam Worthington. So it's 2003, and Marcus is on the death row, but right before his execution, the Red Queen shows up and asks him to sign papers so they can experiment with his body after he dies. After that, Judgment Day happens, humanity is destroyed, and we're now in the far distant future of 2018. And I'll give the movie this, things start off pretty good. We meet John, who's on a mission to destroy a Skynet base, and sure, it looks absolutely nothing like the future we saw in the previous movies. This is more like Mad Max meets Call of Duty, a little bit of aliens in there maybe. But it is a neat little action set piece. They find out the robots are working on creating the T-800.
Remind those men they need to answer me on the radio, even if they're dead.
I don't think that makes sense, but I'm sure it sounded cool in his head. There's a little fight scene with a robot. That's fun.
I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking ass.
And then John disappears like a Jedi for some reason, and Marcus, the guy from the beginning, wakes up and screams.
The Oscar goes to...
Well, so far, the directing and cinematography are pretty good. Decent camera work, decent special effects, pretty good atmosphere. It seems like some effort was put into this. But then we get going with the plot, and that's where things get bad. So basically, John is testing out a signal wave machine thing that allows him to shut down the Skynet machines. So, you know, obviously that's a pretty big advantage. This thing could help them easily win the war, and they just stumble upon this magic anti-robot signal, and they don't question it for a single second. Must be their lucky day, I guess.
Holy shit.
I'm sure nothing bad's gonna happen.
This is an obvious trap.
Meanwhile, Sam Worthington is hanging out with a little mute girl who's completely useless for the whole movie. And also Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese.
Yes, Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese. Kyle Reese. Kyle Reese.
Yes, did you clap yet? Kyle Reese.
Come with me if you want to live.
He said the thing. He said the thing. I was naive enough to think this movie wouldn't rely on cheap nostalgia, but I guess I was wrong.
I'll be back.
And throughout all of this, Skynet is on a mission to kill John and Kyle to stop them from winning the war. So that's the basic setup. And then, honestly, John doesn't have anything to do in the movie.
Oh, good for you!
He just puts on his very serious face and says a few generic lines.
You are the Resistance.
He looks tired, like he doesn't care about being there. I don't know, maybe he just got done yelling at a guy on set.
I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking ass. You know, shut up for a second, all right?
It just feels like wasted potential. You got Christian Bale in there.
Fuck!
And people were excited to finally see the legendary John Connor lead the Resistance, but instead we get to see him talk on the radio and run tests on a signal wave. I don't care about that. Meanwhile, Marcus and Kyle are being chased by Skynet robots. They kick a drone in the face a couple times. Then they meet a group of survivors who immediately get by this giant-ass robot. Now, they've made it very clear that Skynet's main objective is to eliminate Kyle Reese, who has just been identified, by the way. So, of course, the machine destroys literally everyone there, except for him. Did it forget its mission? Is it stupid? Look, your target is right there. What are you shooting this car for? And then for some stupid f***ing reason, instead of finishing the job and blowing them up with its devastating plasma cannon and its highly effective auto-target system, it instead unleashes Moto Terminator bikers to chase them.
Moto Terminators!
I'm starting to think this movie is a little bit stupid. Well, there's more chasing and more shooting and more crashing. Marcus says, "Come on!
Come on!"
And then he says, "Hang on!
Hang on!"
And in the end, Kyle and the mute girl, who I forgot was in this movie, get captured and taken prisoners by Skynet. And from what I understand, I think Skynet is capturing humans because they're using their living tissue to create the T-800 or something like that. And once again, I'm pretty sure they mentioned that Kyle Reese was the #1 target who needed to be eliminated.
It says everyone in this room will be dead by week's end. You're number 2 on the list. Well, who's number 1? Kyle Reese.
Ooh. And might I remind you, he's been identified by the drone already. And yet, when the robot has the chance to crush him to death and therefore complete the objective and allow Skynet to rule the world, it doesn't do that. It captures him like everybody else. Why? I don't know. Well, anyway, Marcus is now on a mission to rescue them, even though he was ready to abandon them about 10 minutes ago.
Get out! You're leaving? You're gonna leave us?
But ever since they got chased by Tron Terminators, he now wants to save them more than anything. Don't think about it. Alright, let's get back to John Connor. Let's see what he's up to. Okay, well, back to Marcus then.
Name's Marcus.
And this is the part of the movie where we get this big subplot that just goes nowhere and feels completely out of place. So Marcus stumbles upon this resistance lady, and they team up to fight Mad Max villains. Then there's really cringe dialogue, like, good guys like you are rare nowadays.
Don't meet a lot of good guys these days.
I'm not a good guy. You are. You just don't know it yet. Awful, I hate it. And why are we introducing a new character / love interest halfway through the movie? I don't think that's how writing works. I don't know, who cares? But they end up finding John, and oh my lord, it turns out Marcus is half man, half machine. And John thinks he's a bad guy and he wants to kill him, so Marcus escapes with his new love interest nobody cares about. And I'm not kidding, she takes 3 explosions in the goddamn face and she walks away with barely a scratch.
Get down! Run! Go!
Like, I get that Marcus is a robot, so he's fine, but she's human. 3 explosions in the face, count them with me. 1, 2, 3. And she's all good, no problem. But anyway, like I said, none of this even mattered, because John then immediately teams up with Marcus, and they go rescue Kyle. They're buddies now.
Oh, good for you!
This was just a waste of time. Oh, the unkillable love interest is now a traitor of the Resistance, and she's gonna be executed? Nah, that plot point's over.
Let her go!
Oh, okay. I guess that's it.
And we're not seeing this lady again until the very end of the movie. Nothing matters. Kyle is still hanging out in Skynet space, and the robots identify him once more. And once again, they don't kill him. They throw Kyle in a jail cell, Kyle being their #1 target that must be eliminated at all costs. Seems like this very moment right there would have been a good time to crush him to death, but hey, what do I know?
For fuck's sake.
And now we've come to what is probably my least favorite scene of the movie, where Marcus meets the lady from the beginning, and she does the whole bad guy speech who reveals the evil plan for no reason thing, just vomits a bunch of exposition. Like, there is a twist, but instead of finding out what the twist is, she just says it.
It works, man. The signal works. It's beautiful.
Okay, so it turns out the signal John's been testing was a trap from Skynet. It's actually fake or something.
We gave them what they wanted to believe. A trick in the form of a signal the Resistance thought would win the war.
And also this whole time, Marcus was created for the sole purpose of finding John and Kyle and bring them to Skynet space so they can be destroyed, and therefore end the Resistance.
You killed John Connor.
What were the odds of Marcus finding both Kyle and John the same day and becoming friends with both? Probably very slim. Does any of this make any sense? No. Oh god, now John is fighting a CGI Arnold. What is happening? Yeah, whatever. The T-800 gets defeated. John blows up the Skynet base, but he's badly injured.
Fuck!
So in the end, Marcus gives him his heart and saves him. Because remember, he's a good guy, he just doesn't know it yet. That's it, the end. Well, that wasn't very good, was it? I don't know much about the backstory, but apparently there was an absurd amount of rewrites and reshoots. The original ending was leaked online, so they redid the entire 3rd act, I think. It was a complete mess, and it shows. This film tried having 3 protagonists and completely forgot about its supporting characters. The little mute girl was utterly useless. Marcus's love interest was completely useless. Oh, did I mention Kate from Terminator 3 is in there? Yeah, she's John's wife and she's pregnant, and you could take her out of the movie and it literally would not have changed a single thing. These guys aren't even characters because characters are supposed to be part of the story, and they aren't. They don't bring anything to the story. They're just there once in a while and then they disappear. Yeah, no, instead we're focusing on 3 different storylines, none of which are interesting, with 3 main characters that haven't been fleshed out whatsoever and that we simply don't care about.
Then what is the point?
This was finally finally the time to see what John Connor is capable of. See him lead the resistance. But we spend the whole movie with him testing a signal that ends up being an obvious trap. Why'd you do that? Everyone is extremely stoic and cold and almost machine-like, which is ironic since the movie is all about what it means to be human, what separates us from the machines. Add to that some extremely distracting green screens, a lot of bad acting, terrible lines,
I'll be back,
and a messy plot that didn't make a lot of sense and that ultimately felt unsatisfying. And yeah, Salvation had a lot of potential, but ultimately it was a big letdown and I'm already starting to forget about it.
What the fuck is it with you? Right, let's go again.
Terminator Genisys in Real D 3D and IMAX 3D, rated PG-13.
Why do you cry?
Because I'm tired and I want this to be over. So it turns out Salvation was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy. But once again, there were a bunch of legal issues with the rights, everything was put on hold, and the whole trilogy idea was ultimately scrapped. Instead, for the next movie, they ended up making a sort of sequel that only acknowledges the first Terminator movie, I think, and it disregards every other sequel, and it's, I think it's kind of a multiverse movie.
You dig on multiverses?
No. It has something to do with different timelines. If I sound a little confused already, that's because this movie broke my brain. It is a giant mess.
Action.
From the director of everyone's favorite MCU movie, Thor: The Dark World, it's none other than Terminator Genisys. Genisys? Were you trying to come up with a title everybody would laugh at? And just like Salvation, Genisys was also a failed attempt at making a new Terminator trilogy. How many times are they gonna try before they realize it's a terrible idea? I don't know. But anyway, let's get to the plot, and it's very simple, okay? You just have to follow along. Just try to keep up. So, to put it briefly, it starts in the future where the Resistance successfully defeats Skynet, but right as they're about to be defeated, Skynet deploys a T-800 who is sent back to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor and therefore prevent John Connor from ever existing. So John sends Kyle back to the past as well to stop the T-800 and make sure Sarah's safe, just like in the original movie. But, right as he begins to teleport, Matt Smith of Morbius fame attacks John, which creates a whole shift in the timeline. Then, as Kyle is teleporting, he has a flashback or a vision of another him as a kid from a different timeline, telling him that Genisys is Skynet.
Genisys is Skynet.
What is happening? Okay, so we're in 1984 now, and hey, I know what this is.
Your clothes. Give them to me. Now.
I understood that reference.
Except in this new timeline, an old Arnold shows up to defeat the T-800 who is sent back to kill Sarah, and also there's a liquid metal bad guy now. Come on, just please try to keep up. And also Sarah Connor shows up, but she's not the little waitress damsel in distress like in the original. No, she's a badass, and she even says the line everybody loves, and it's definitely not cringe at all.
Come with me if you want to live.
And they fight and shoot. And there's a lot of terrible looking CGI, and you might be thinking, what is happening? Well, let me tell you. So we learned that an unknown person sent this Arnold to protect Sarah when she was only a child, which explains why he looks old now. And we literally never learn who sent that Arnold to protect Sarah as a child.
Programmed by who? Who sent him back?
Those files have been erased.
Oh, that's convenient.
It's just something they wrote in without any payoff. But anyway, back to the movie, they effortlessly defeat both the T-800 and the T-1000. So is the movie over? No, because they then get to a teleporter, and Sarah explains that they need to time travel to 1997 to stop Skynet.
1997.
Just like in Terminator 2. But Kyle says that since the timeline has changed, and because he had a 5-second vision of him as a boy, he's convinced they actually have to time travel to 2017, because that's when the new Judgment Day will happen.
October 2017.
Kyle is absolutely sure of this because of that confusing little blurry vision.
What?
He understands everything now. It all makes sense, okay?
What?
So they travel to 2017, just a few hours before Judgment Day happens, even though they have a time machine. So they could, I don't know, maybe go back a couple weeks before, maybe even a couple months. Just have enough time to make sure they're ready. But no, they don't do that because we need a sense of urgency. Okay, so we're in 2017 now, and that's when the movie actually begins. That's when the plot kicks in, 42 minutes in. Just please try to keep up, okay? And as soon as they teleport to the future, they immediately get run over by a car. They should obviously be dead, or at the very least severely injured, but no, they don't have a scratch on them thanks to the power of being two attractive white people. And in this 2017 timeline, they learn about this thing called Genisys, which is an operating system that allows phones, tablets, and computers to be linked together. Oh my god.
My phone will link to my tablet, will link to my computer, will link to my car.
So iCloud? Pretty much. It doesn't sound all that special, honestly, but yeah, Judgment Day is no longer about nukes blowing up the Earth. It's now about an OS update that will hack your phone.
Oh no!
Or something like that, I think. And surprise, John Connor shows up.
You're alive.
But here's the big twist with this movie, and it's gonna blow your mind. See, it turns out John is now a bad guy. Because remember when he was attacked at the beginning while Kyle was teleporting? Well, that was Skynet, disguised in human form, which doesn't make sense.
I'm Skynet.
Oh, good for you!
And they turned John into a shitty-looking Iron Man nanobot cyborg. It looks great. So after becoming a bad guy, he teleported back to 2014 to make sure Genisys, aka iCloud, aka Skynet, was going to be created and cause Judgment Day. Are you following along? Just please try to keep up, for God's sake. And then he threatens Kyle and Sarah to either join him or die, and they of course refuse to join him, but Sarah explains that since her and Kyle are his parents, if John kills them, then he logically can no longer exist.
You can't kill us, we're your parents.
And John replies, no, that's not how it works. I can kill you and still exist.
See, I can kill you, for there truly is no fate.
Don't think about it. What? This leads to one of the clunkiest and most awkward and awful fight scenes I've ever seen in a major motion picture. And then we get explosions and more CGI and awful one-liners.
I absolutely will not stop ever until Skynet rules this world.
Rule this.
And then a school bus flips over and barrel rolls 1,000 times and the vehicle is completely destroyed. But don't worry, Sarah and Kyle are perfectly fine. It's nothing.
Are you alright?
Yeah, never better.
Better pop an Advil because we're not done yet. It's now time for this nauseating CG helicopter chase scene slop. And oh boy, get ready for it. Arnold's gonna say the line. Yeah, he's gonna say it.
I'll be back.
He said it! It's almost over. There's a big climactic fight scene. It's a visual clusterfuck, but ultimately they defeat John, they destroy Skynet, or Genisys, or whatever the fuck it is, and here's the most anticlimactic kiss you've ever seen in your life between two people that have zero chemistry. Okay, that's it, the end. And that was a very brief, condensed summary of Terminator Genisys. I told you, very simple movie.
Why?
I don't even know where to start with this.
What?
I guess they tried to do something different, which is nice, but it's such a convoluted bunch of nonsense, just a confusing mess, and just thinking about it gives me a headache.
Time travel makes my head hurt.
Like, what is even going on? There's multiple timelines. There's a T-800, there's a T-1000, there's a T-3000, there's a T-5000.
I'm Skynet.
And Skynet. There's a young kid, Sarah in her 20s, and a kid, Kyle Reese, who talks to older Kyle Reese in a different timeline, and a young CG Arnold, and a middle-aged Arnold, and an old Arnold, and nobody knows who sent him to protect Sarah when she was young.
Who sent him back?
Those files have been erased.
Oh, that's convenient.
And why she was even in danger in the first place. And Skynet isn't Skynet anymore. It's an app called Genisys for some reason. And John Connor is a nanobot cyborg. Oh my god. Hey, how about we pump the brakes just a little bit?
What?
They seem to have missed the whole point of Terminator. The original movie sets up a rich world with a lot to explore, a lot of lore and backstory, but in the end, the story is stripped down to a very simple premise. Two guys from the future come to the past. One is here to kill, one is here to protect. That's it. Simple, effective. Genisys is not that. It's needlessly overstuffed. It doesn't help that our main characters are among the most uncharismatic leads I've ever seen in a movie. Utterly lifeless, bland. Every single line delivery either sounds like they're bored or like they simply can't act.
What?
Emilia Clarke has a hard time hiding her British accent.
You can't kill us, we're your parents.
We're your parents?
You're British.
Kyle is reduced to being a big dumb Chad.
We're screwed, aren't we? Pretty much.
He's a stupid loser. In fact, he would have been better cast as a Terminator, honestly. And all these characters do, the characters you're supposed to root for, all they do is bicker at each other constantly.
Reese, stop it! I think you hurt his feelings.
It doesn't have feelings.
Just because you two don't get along.
It's not about getting along. This is about keeping you alive.
I think I'm doing just fine. Thanks.
Look, don't listen to him. He's got a head wound.
Don't listen to me. Who landed us in high-density traffic and got us caught by these morons?
I am ordering you to shut up.
My fault? You got us caught. Now you're gonna get us killed because you don't listen.
I can get it myself.
No, I'm not gonna let a machine tell me what's possible. I don't know, maybe say something?
You want to tell me how that conversation is supposed to start?
Just extremely unlikable people, and then at the end you're supposed to believe they love each other? No, that's bullshit. Poor old Jason Clarke is giving it his all, and he's actually pretty good in this, but he's given nothing to work with here. Only generic bad guy speeches again and again and again.
You see, I can kill you. For there truly is no fate.
What is he talking about?
Now, let's not forget about the action, because yikes, the action is garbage. We're talking utterly terrible fight choreography, terrible car chase scenes, terrible shootouts. They even managed to make a helicopter chase scene boring. It's just a mess of visual noise. It's a cacophony of CG nonsense. And oh god, I haven't even talked about the humor yet. It's so bad. Take the terrible Marvel quips and make them even shittier, and that's what you get.
Bite me.
You have approximately 35 seconds. Or less.
I don't volunteer for this shit. Can you stop him talking like that? Is there a switch or something?
You're right!
Yeah, never better.
We're here to stop the end of the world.
I can work with that.
Not only is it painfully unfunny, but it also constantly deflates all the tension.
We're screwed, aren't we? Pretty much.
It's like everything's a big joke.
I'll be back.
What?
So there's no sense of danger whatsoever.
Uncuff me!
No, you're under arrest.
A part that kills humans is confusing to you.
I will say though, I almost had fun watching this movie just because I kept laughing at it the whole time. It's embarrassing to a point where it almost becomes comical. And also, in all honesty, I have to say, Arnold is great in this film.
Good. Then you should be able to mate with Kyle Reese in this timeline. Did you mate?
Oh.
Character-wise and performance-wise, I think this is the best Arnold after Terminator 1 and 2. Fight me, I loved him, and it made Genisys slightly more watchable, but otherwise this was shockingly awful, and I truly don't know what they were thinking.
What?
Terminator Dark Fate, rated R, Friday.
Well, the last two attempts at starting a new trilogy failed. And what do we do when we're desperate and we live in a post-Force Awakens and Jurassic World era? Well, make a legacy sequel, of course! A soulless corporate legacy sequel cash grab. Yes!
Tim has this fresh, new vision.
It's not true.
A hot take alert, I guess. I hated this fucking movie, and from what I hear, I think people enjoyed it for the most part.
Pathetic little tiny things are sad wannabe critics. This movie was awesome!
So don't take my word for it, I guess. I personally think this is a strong contender for the worst movie of this franchise, but hey, what do I know? So this one is a new timeline that ignores all of the movies except for Terminator 1 and 2.
We're kind of ignoring the storylines of Terminators 3 through 5.
So Sarah didn't die of leukemia off screen in this one.
Leukemia.
And Dark Fate was described as, quote, the continuation of what fans really wanted since T2. So obviously the first thing they do, first scene of the movie, of course, they kill John Connor. Yes, fan favorite character little John Connor from Terminator 2, they kill him off. Now, who am I to assume what people want or don't want in a Terminator 2 sequel? But I would assume this wasn't one of those things, just a thought.
We're not gonna make it, are we?
Nope. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. At least for the first time in this never-ending franchise, we have a Terminator movie that isn't solely focused on murdering John Connor. So, you know, at least they're doing something a little bit different. Oh, wait, did I say different? Sorry, I meant the exact same thing again. Except the main character's name is Danny instead of John.
Danny.
And that's pretty much the only difference. Yeah, don't forget, this is a legacy sequel, so they're just gonna retread the same story from the first two movies again.
Fresh,
new vision.
Hey, get this. 2 people get teleported from the future.
What?
This lady, Grace, who's here to protect Danny, and this Terminator on a mission to kill her, and therefore stop her from leading the resistance in the future. This sounds a little familiar. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. Anyway, they both show up where Danny works, and they fight a little bit. It's basically a very condensed version of the nightclub scene from the first Terminator movie. It's really basically the same, except I don't remember Terminator 1 having some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. Jesus Christ. Anyway, after hitting the bad guy in the face a couple times, we then get a big car chase action scene, and since this takes place in Mexico, everything is yellow, obviously, just like in real life. And now that scene is basically this chase scene from Terminator 2. Except I don't remember Terminator 2 looking like absolute dog shit, huh? And then, out of nowhere, an elderly Sarah Connor shows up. Alright, awesome! I hope they don't mess up Sarah Connor's first line of dialogue in 28 years.
I'll be back.
I quit. Well, at this point, you might be wondering what the fuck is happening. Why are we in Mexico? Why did Sarah show up? Who is this Danny girl?
Me?
Well, let me tell you. So, this lady, Grace, is an augmented human.
I'm augmented.
So she is human, but she's like a superhero, pretty much.
I'm perfectly fine.
And this guy is a Rev 9.
Rev 9!
Which is basically yet another liquid metal Terminator. And obviously, Grace is here to protect Danny from the Rev 9, because even though Judgment Day never happened, I guess there's still an evil online entity that launched nukes and ended humanity in the future. And it is the exact same thing as Skynet causing Judgment Day, except now it's called Legion.
And it wasn't some Skynet thing in the future that actually happened. It's called Legion.
Legion.
An AI built for cyber warfare.
And therefore, everything that happened in Terminator 2 was completely and utterly useless, because humanity is doomed.
We changed the future. Saved 3 billion lives. Guess not.
But remember, this is what the fans really wanted.
This is not thematically on point. This is not what these characters would do.
And in this timeline, Danny is the one who'll become the leader of the Resistance.
Is that our fate? Well, fuck fate.
I cringe when you talk.
So yes, we're just doing the same thing again because this franchise is creatively bankrupt.
So it follows very much tonally in the footsteps of those first 2 films. And we've tried to recapture and kind of rebottle that feeling.
And as for Sarah Connor, let's hope I got this right. So basically, it turns out Skynet had sent a bunch of Terminators in various time frames to kill John.
Skynet had sent several Terminators to hunt him. One finally caught up with us and carried out orders from a future that never happened.
And so this Arnold from the beginning was one of them, even though Sarah and John stopped Skynet from ever happening, but they still show up. So John's dead, and ever since this happened, Sarah's whole life mission has been to hunt and destroy Terminators, and also being sad and drinking herself to death.
And I drink till I black out.
Because don't forget, this is a legacy sequel. Yes, just like Laurie and Dewey and Chris McNeil and Indy and everybody else, this classic beloved character is once again a sad, fucking broken soul. And you know, it is good to see her back, but she's very evidently forced into a story where she simply doesn't belong.
I felt very much that I had worked a very complete character arc in the first 2 films.
There is no reason for her to be there. And speaking of contrived nostalgia bait, Arnold is back too, which is great, we all love him, but the explanation for why he's there and why he's tagging along and why he's old, it might be the stupidest thing I've seen in any Terminator movie. It's so dumb, I couldn't believe it, because it turns out this Arnold is the same Arnold from the beginning who cold-bloodedly murdered John Connor as a child, but then what happened is he went on to live his life, and he eventually met a woman and her kid, and they all became a family, and Arnold grew a conscience and became more human, and when he started caring about the kid, it made him realize what he had taken from Sarah, or something like that, and he felt bad about it. I think that's what happened.
While raising Mateo, my son, I began to understand what I'd taken from you.
So now he wants to help her destroy every Terminator that shows up because that will give her purpose in life.
To give you purpose, Sarah. I thought it would bring meaning to your son's death.
What are you talking about? Obviously, the studio and the screenwriter didn't know what to do here. Like, okay, we gotta bring Arnold back, but he has to be a nice guy, and he's old, so the Terminator needs to be old as well. And, okay, he needs to team up with Sarah. Make that happen somehow.
I'm going to help you protect the girl. Because I choose to.
All right, good enough.
Literally nothing makes sense, but it doesn't matter. Arnold's back. And they even cue the Terminator music when he grabs his sunglasses like he's a superhero suiting up. In fact, the way they use that music in this movie is so embarrassing. Like, they play it whenever Arnold or Sarah do literally anything.
I'll be back.
Come on, stop it. All right, well, no time to think about how nothing makes any sense, because here comes more mindless action and more terrible special effects. It's not enough, I want more action! Fuck it, let's have them fight in a plane that's half destroyed, and yet nobody gets violently sucked out, everyone's safe. Decompression? Gravity? Are those even words? And then the plane is plummeting straight down. Look, Sarah is just standing there, not even holding on to anything, as if she wouldn't have broken every single bone in her elderly body already. But that's not enough, give me more action! They then literally fall from the sky and crash twice. And then the Humvee barrel rolls uncontrollably. Obviously, you know, everyone's perfectly fine.
What's happening?
Honestly, I do not know. But in between all of that, don't worry, there's still time for terrible, cringe dialogue.
What matters are the choices we make now.
You are the future.
Could this get any worse?
Is that our fate? Well, fuck fate.
Oh yeah, it can. Apparently it can. I don't know for you, but I'm just about ready for this mess to end. So let's get to the epic final battle where Grace and Arnold fight the Rev 9 and Sarah's just kind of standing in the background with a shotgun that is utterly useless against the enemy. It's almost as if she had no reason to be in this movie whatsoever. Oh look, the bad guy is roaring like a kaiju now. And in a surprising turn of events, Grace sacrifices herself to defeat the villain and save everyone. Arnold also dies, but not before saying his last words. For John.
For John.
It's a very touching moment. He did all of this for John. You know, the little kid he shot in the face with a shotgun?
For John.
Alright, I guess Sarah is Danny's mom now? Okay, yeah, the end. You know, Genisys at least tried to do something a little bit different. It tried having twists and turns, and of course failed miserably, but there was still an attempt to go somewhere new. It's a schlocky, convoluted, embarrassing mess with two terrible actors.
What?
But I'd almost take that over another typical cliche legacy sequel, which is exactly what Dark Fate is. Repeat the exact same story from the original movies, shoehorn in the OG characters, even if it makes no sense and they serve no real purpose, have these older characters pass the torch to a new generation, rely heavily on callbacks and nostalgia.
I won't be back.
And of course, don't forget my favorite, turn an iconic, beloved character into a grumpy, alcoholic loser.
Complete lunatic, alcoholic.
This is not thematically on point. This is not what these characters would do.
That's the formula they've been milking for over a decade, and at this point, we gotta stop. We need to stop, okay? These are not movies. This is not art. They're nothing more than a checklist of bullet points to hit. It's a formula. It's a product devoid of any personality, originality, creativity. This isn't somebody's vision. This is nothing more than emotionally manipulative nostalgia bait. Too safe for anyone to really love it, too mid for anyone to really hate it. It falls right down the middle as this mediocre product that'll slightly amuse you for 2 hours, probably give you a headache near the end. and then you'll forget it ever existed. It's a bummer, cause although killing John Connor felt like a f you to the fans, I was admittedly excited to see where they would take the story now that it's finally about something other than protecting John or his mother. We've seen this so many times before, let's change it up, that's good. But no, they do the same thing all over again.
You are the future.
The main character needs to be protected because she's going to lead the resistance in the future. She's literally John.
She's John. You're John.
The Rev 9 is just another villain of the week, and I'm almost positive his computer-generated model has more screen time than the actual actor. He's given nothing to do. Call me crazy, but I feel like the liquid metal bad guy only works once. They did it, it was great. Now how about we move on and do something different? But oh my god, how about Arnold and Linda Hamilton? Isn't it great to see them back together? Yeah, sure. Look, I'm not made of stone. It was nice to see them return, but nostalgia aside, when you think about it, there's really no reason for them to be there. Not only does it make no sense story-wise, John Connor's killer now hangs out with his family, drinking Coronas, and he loves kids now. Yeah, sure, okay, but they're also completely useless. What, they have a couple of machine guns, which will do absolutely nothing whatsoever to the bad guy? Grace is 1,000 times stronger and more efficient. In fact, taking them out of the movie would have been beneficial, I think. Their characters barely have any impact on the story. There's no arc, there's no development. It's the classic case of we gotta bring back the original cast, but we don't have anything for them to do. So I guess they'll just awkwardly tag along. Huh, that reminds me of another movie. I truly hope the legacy sequel trend is behind us. I get that these things make a lot of money, but they're an insult to art. And Dark Fate is no different. This is a stupid, lazy cash grab, but hey, don't take my word for it, people seem to like it just fine.
Pathetic little tiny things and sad wannabe critics, the movie was awesome.
This franchise is just like Skynet. No matter what we do, no matter what happens, they'll always find a way to ruin everything. Well, just like that, I watched the Terminator franchise crumble and burn. We got two of the best movies ever made, and then a series of failed attempts to do something with a franchise that should have been left alone a long time ago. Honestly though, I didn't hate watching these movies. Sure, most of them are bad, and I've seen enough CG explosions and terrible mind-numbing action scenes to last a lifetime, but still, it was nice watching something different than a horror movie for once. And that being said, I'm never doing it again. F that, from now on, we're just watching horror stuff.
Oh, yes!
And on that note, until next time, keep watching horror movies and action and sci-fi as well. It's good for your health. And quick note, I am tired. I've been working on this for weeks now, but don't worry. I'll be back.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, bye-bye.